As we were preparing for this day, this is one of the things that to kind of let you in a little bit about how we put these things together. So Mike is always asking me in the leading up weeks, you know what you're going to talk about? You know what you're going to talk about? I'm like, yeah, I got some pretty good ideas. And well, are you going to let me know? I was like, yeah, when it comes together, I'll kind of let you know. And it's the different teams perform different ways together, and I kind of have running script in my head, but I don't really put it down on paper or put it on PowerPoint or put it on slides until the very last minute. That probably drives Mike a little bit crazy because he really wants to be prepared to make sure that everything goes well here. But as we were talking about it, was kind of funny. Mike's doing a lot of the video and the tech stuff, and I'm kind of thinking about what I want to talk about. And first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the state of the business, but and then I'm going to transition a little bit as part of our way forward. And Mike was asking me again, finally, what are you going to talk about? And this was before I had seen any of the production videos and stuff like that. And so, remember the first video that we showed? It's kind of funny because I said to Mike, I said, I'm kind of thinking about having the theme of my little talk be about family. And at the same time, Mike had been creating this video about family and about the Subway family. And it was just kind of funny how that came together. And he's like, "Oh, that ties in great." And I was like, "Well, this is what I was kind of thinking about because that's how I see all of us here in the room." But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the state of the business, and it's kind of a quick straw poll here in the room. How many of you guys are feeling better about the direction of the brand, better about the direction of this market or your individual markets, and better about besides the challenges that a lot of us are experiencing, how many of you are feeling better this year than you did the same time last year about the overall direction of Subway? Okay, so I'd say the majority of the room feels like, and that's kind of the number that I expected. And honestly, what is that, about 70, I'd say 75% of people felt like things are better, or at least trending in the right direction. And honestly, that's kind of how I feel internally. I feel about 75% better. I want to feel 100% better, but I feel about 75% better. I think that is a realistic, cautiously optimistic thing to feel. So as you guys know, last year, the SAC committee, which is the Systems Advisory Council for Subway, we set a goal to have 75% of the restaurants be indexing at over 100, and the goal was to have that by the end of April. Now, in this area, I think we would have hit it if we didn't have such terrible weather in April. I mean, our weather was awful in April. But by the end of June, we did hit that goal. We had over 75% of our restaurants indexing over 100. It seems that the customer counts have started to bounce back a little bit. The AUV has bounced back a little bit. Our check, that's the only way we've grown over the last few years. We've held on basically by price increases and check. But now I'm seeing AUV starting to grow a little bit more based on customer counts and not just check. So that's a positive thing, and I think that we need to be optimistic about how that we grow going forward, that we seem to be regaining a little bit of our momentum. I think the switch in the national agency, I think our advertising is much better. I don't know if you guys have seen the recent ads and the ads that we ran last year. I'm going to show some of them this year, but what do you guys think of the work that the Dan agency has been? Do you guys think that has been improvement from last year to this year, the Dan agency? If you guys think so, raise your hand. If you like our ads better than we've seen in the past few years. So I think they're impactful. They're they're modern and they connect with people. So I think that we're trending in the right direction. Now, there is no doubt that we were behind. We were behind competition. Investments weren't made in the brand soon enough. We've talked about how ownership has invested probably about $300 million over the past 3 to 4 years in the company. And that's great, but yeah, there's no doubt about it. I wish that investment would have been spread out starting 10, 15 years ago. I think we would have been in a little bit different place in technology. I think we've been caught up on a lot of things that we need to catch up on. but we're getting there. So I believe as a development agent and as a franchisee, I understand and feel the frustrations that have been going on. But at the same time, I am optimistic, and I hope that you are too, that things are moving in the right direction, that we're starting to gain some momentum. We're getting caught up on a lot of the technology stuff. Competition is stronger than it's ever been before. However, we're starting to knock out a little bit of that competition too. In the Chicago market, there's been several Firehouse subs close and Jersey Mike's. Some of these competitors that were supposed to be really strong competitors, people are starting to realize that you're not getting that much more for the $12 or whatever it takes to get a Jersey Mike's sub and chips and a drink. So in certain areas, they're still strong, but we're starting to knock some of those guys out. So that's kind of how I see the state of our business right now. I'm cautiously optimistic that we're moving forward. I want to give a shout out to our Lake and McHenry County folks, because this transition over the last couple of years has been it's been difficult, but I think it's been good working with you guys as well and making some real changes. And there's no doubt about it that when we took over that area in December of last year, that we told you that we're going to ask you to raise the game a little bit operationally. And there was some struggles during that period of time. It's like, there's some change. I'm getting documented on my evaluations for things that I didn't used to get documented for. And you guys have stepped it up. I've seen the reports in that area. Our customer comments are going down and our CRS scores are going up as you guys have raised the game operationally in that area. So I want to thank you guys for that. And we've also seen the AUV start to raise in that area. That area is still a struggle as far as a development perspective goes. That's my job to try to figure out that puzzle. And I'm hoping to work with you guys to come up with the right strategies to move stores around in the right areas so that we can be in the best spot every single time. And so, again, I'm optimistic. I'm hoping that you guys are too. So I lived in Texas, basically. I went down there for school, and I lived there pretty much full-time from 98 till 2006. So I worked as a contract negotiator for Lockheed Martin, and I was on the F-22 fighter jet program, which is the stealth fighter program. And so I was, negotiating. I negotiated the contracts for the cockpit displays in the F-22 fighter jet. And I did that for a while, and was for about 5 years, and was looking to do something different, and had a couple different opportunities that were based out of Texas. So in 2006, Dad talked to me about the possibility of moving back to Illinois, and I wasn't sure about it. I took my time to try to make that decision on what I wanted to do. I certainly was not going to leave Texas for the Illinois weather. That wasn't part of it. And I didn't leave Texas to move up here for the money. I came up here to work with this company and move back into this area because of family. And when I say that, it's not just because of the opportunity to work with my mom and dad, but the Subway has been a part of my family and a part of who I am for as long as I can remember. I was in that store when I was 7 years old, stretching bread in the back room. I remember seeing an entrepreneur help build a business and risk basically everything to build that company and to open up that first sandwich shop. If that first sandwich shop didn't do well, they always said the bank would have had everything but my firstborn at that point. And that was just because I wasn't financeable probably at the time. But I saw this company grow from the ground up in that area, and in this area. And that sort of entrepreneurial spirit is something that each one of you has in this room, and it's something that I respect dearly. That hard work, that willingness to take risk, and that, desire to succeed and beat the competition is something that I respect so much for each one of you guys. And that's what drew me back to this. I did not want to climb a corporate ladder and be some suit somewhere, and I did not want to be on a plane to a different country for eccentric consulting. I wanted to work with my Subway family, and that's all of you guys here. And I just want you guys to know that my family, everybody's different. We all have different personalities, and we sometimes work better together than we do at other times. I'm a pretty direct, analytical type person, and so a lot of you guys don't know that besides being analytical and kind of direct on things like that I have prayed and cried for people in this room, and several of you guys in this room have prayed for me and for my family and have cried with me and my family. We have experienced a lot together. For me, the past 12 years, as a family, the past 30 years, we've had births, we've had horrific deaths, we've had severe injuries, we've had battles with cancer, where as a family, we have supported each other and we have grown together, and that is what this brand has been all about. This is a giant company, but it started as a small family business. And I want you guys to know that besides being a direct analytical person, that I do pray for everybody in this room, and I care about each and everyone's success. Some of the conversations that I've had to have over the last couple of years have been extremely tough when some stores, especially in our Chicago market, have been in such dire situations. And at some point, it has caused me a lack of sleep sometimes when I'm like, gosh, I wish that there was something I could do to remedy this situation immediately. But that's a struggle. As a family, we all go through stuff together that we can't just snap our fingers and make it happen. Now, I don't know about you guys, but do we always get along perfectly with our family? Not always. We're going to have disagreements, right? We have disagreements with our personal families, and we have disagreements sometimes with our business families. I can tell you that your field consultants do not want to come hammer you on evaluations that makes their life miserable. I've done it. I've sat there when I had to do a 5.5-hour evaluation and write a gazillion things, and it's awful. It's not something I want to do. The evaluations where I can get in and out real quickly in 2 hours, and we can have a good time, and everything in the store looks great, that makes the job easier, right? But those field consultants are there to protect us. There's some things that I got to go do in my store before my next evaluation comes, or I'm going to get out of compliance. That has got to be done. But that conflict, and this is something that Mike is going to talk to a little bit later, that conflict can help us grow or it can tear us apart, okay? And how do we handle that? I expect that everybody from our office handles these things, that they do their job honestly and professionally, and we can have honest and professional conversations together. That's the only way we're going to move forward. And there's a quote here that I want to share. One of my favorite economists of all time, Thomas Sowell, I think is a brilliant man. And when we have arguments, we can automatically just destroy those arguments and hurt those relationships right away by doing a couple things. It is amazing how many people think that they can answer an argument by attributing bad motives to those who disagree with them. Using this kind of reasoning, you can believe or not believe anything about anything without having to bother to deal with facts or logic. So, if we're in a disagreement, and I just have it in my head that you're a bad, evil person and you're out to get me and you hate me, I can believe anything I want about the argument or the disagreement that we're having whether this disagreement may just be about business strategy, it may be about development, it may be about store evaluations, it may be about operations. But if we automatically believe something inherently bad about the other person, we can't have a productive conversation and resolve that in a productive way, right? You have to at least give that person the credit and the respect to say, let's talk about things, let's talk about the facts, and let's talk about logic and strategy and those sort of things without attributing bad motives to other people. And that's the only, because that will just automatically kill the program, you know. And it goes also with Subway headquarters. I've had people, you know, unfortunately, I've had some conversations that didn't go the right way. I've had somebody say, you're trying to kill my business. You and headquarters are trying to kill my business. And it's like, no, really? I mean, that's not productive for a productive way to start the conversation at all. Let's talk about, hey, I have a disagreement with how things are going development-wise. I have a disagreement with how things are going operationally-wise. Nobody wants to kill anybody's business. So when we come together, if we have conflict, let's first of all throw out the notion that the other person is inherently bad or inherently trying to hurt us, because that is a non-starter. That's not a way to have that conversation. It just won't work. So, like I said, there are some certain things that I am more than willing to admit, you know, my weaknesses. My strengths are in analytics and strategy and sitting down together and let's come up with a strategy. Let's look at maps. Let's look at numbers. Let's look at AUVs, and we'll kind of come up with a long-term strategy. Those are where my strengths are. You can ask, you know, sometimes my strength, at least or weakness on the surface, and to be straight up, is sometimes I don't know if it's necessarily, it's a lack of expressing outward empathy. I have that empathy for all my franchisees, but I'm not always the greatest at expressing that with my staff, with my franchisees, even with my family at home, because, and that's something that I work on, but I'm a solutions-oriented person. So that's one of those things that, like, I want to be like, and this drives my wife crazy all the time. It's like, okay, I gotcha, bad stuff. How do we get to the good stuff, you know? And let's try to check these boxes and walk these steps and go down the map this way, and we can get to a better place. And that doesn't always, you know, play well at home. Most of the guys in the room probably understand that are married, that doesn't always work. But part of our way forward is that we have to come together and work together. And like I've made this invitation every single meeting, and a few owners have taken me up on it. Send me an email, let's get together and let's talk about what the long-term strategy is in your area. Because we have remodel requirements coming up, I'm going to get to that later. We have a brand that's transitioning our image. We have a company focus that is focused not on just growing stores, but on growing market share. And that means that we have to be in the best spot, in the best location, in the most strategic spot, growing forward every single time. I'm not going, as a numbers guy, I'm not going to want you to make that investment in a fresh forward location in a bad spot or in a spot that we're not going to have confidence in for the next 10 years. So, please, again, I'm extending that invitation again, that let's get together, let's talk strategy, let's put pencil to paper and work some things out that way. And we all have to raise our game. Again, I talked about this at the last meeting, about that 17 feet, 2 inches. Well, it's not just, that is Subway to everybody that comes through the door. But now we have customers that never come through our door. And we have to embrace the changes of technology and embrace these new initiatives in order to beat our competition. Jimmy John's has got to be freaking out a little bit right now. I would be freaking out a little bit right now if I was Jimmy John's franchisee, because we're going to start third-party delivery, and that's their number one advantage. Their advantage is certainly not product over us, but their advantage is convenience. And there's this is, as Trevor said in DC, the QSR industry is at war. We are at war, basically, with our competition. And we cannot sit back and do things that the way we've been doing them for the last 30 years and expect to get better. And expect to beat the competition. We can't do it. If we are sitting around expecting the world to change around us and for our stores to all of a sudden start gaining 20% in AUV, that's not going to happen. We have to be aggressive. We have a lot of challenges in hiring right now. We have to be relentless in our recruiting. I've said that before, of employees. But we have to go after our competition harder than we have ever gone after them before. And that means both making the right development moves, hiring the right people, and embracing the new technology and the new changes, that sort of thing. If you look at the way that some of these numbers on stores that have embraced that technology, have gone fresh forward, have relocated, those are the stores that have been bringing up, tremendous AUV over the past year. So we can talk about the changes and things like that at headquarters, and I've talked about, I've heard people say, well, until we get a new CEO, I'm just not really interested in embracing anything that's coming out right now. Since when does Milford, Connecticut make immediate changes that affect your store's AUV tomorrow? Since the $5 footlong, which was a national FAF thing, not an FWH thing, those kind of things, that kind of direction, whoever our CEO is, or whoever our CEO is going to be, is not going to change our AUV one way or another. What's going to change our AUV is obviously the direction that National FAF goes with our advertising, but even they know that advertising in itself has become less and less effective. And it's going to be, what's going to change our area is how we strategically work together and how we get all of our shops in the best locations to grow and grow AUV, and how we get after our competition. If we start embracing the new initiatives that come up as fast as they can, and unfortunately we don't have third-party delivery in every single area, but we have to embrace the changes, look at the positive things that are going on and see what we can do, because we are at war. Now, here's another quote from Thomas Sowell here. It says, "The beauty of doing nothing is that you can do it perfectly. Only when you do something is it almost impossible to do it without mistakes. Therefore, people who are contributing nothing to society except for their constant criticisms can feel both intellectually and morally superior." And I think that is the same for Subway. If we're not doing anything but contributing just our criticisms to Subway, then we can sit back and feel great about ourselves because we're intellectually and morally superior, because we're not necessarily out there on the edge, out there getting after our competition, out there bettering ourselves and bettering our restaurants, but we can point out every mistake. The people that are doing something or trying to do something are going to make mistakes along the way. That's what it says. When you go out and do something, you can't do it perfectly. But the people that are just contributing their criticisms are only criticizing the people that are trying to do something. So that doesn't bring us forward. We have to get out there, just like it was. It's more important now, really, because things are at a higher risk. Labor is tougher. Hiring is tougher. Customers are a heck of a lot tougher than they were back in the 80s and 90s. Okay? People are demanding much more from us in all aspects. So over the past 30 years, we have, I think, gotten a little bit away from that edge. All you guys are entrepreneurs in this room. When you first started this business, knew you had to be, sitting on that edge. You had to be pushing things forward. You had to get out there, market your store, chase down customers, go to local businesses, schools, that sort of thing. And now we're back there again. It's the only way we're going to beat our competition is if we go out and do something. We can't sit back and do nothing and wait for the Subway world to revolve around us and all of a sudden things are going to get good. I think the Subway world is coming around a little bit, and things are getting a little bit better by better, but we're not going to get 20% customers back overnight just that way. We have to claw and scratch for 2% of our customers here, 2% of our customers there. That's the only way we're going to do it. So I'm hoping that you guys learn from each other today. I'm hoping that you're optimistic about this brand, and I hope that you feel a little bit of excitement to say, yeah, I am going to get back on that edge. I'm going to push my store to be the best I can be. I'm going to push my employees to be the best that we can be. And that's the only way we're going to claw and scratch to get these customers back. Some of them are starting to come around, but we are at war with the competition, and we have to get after them in every single way. So as we go through today, I want you guys to think about that, is that we are a family and we're in this together, but we have to fight our way back to the top. And if we fight with each other every once in a while, that's okay. But let's fight with respect and thinking good thoughts about the other person so that we know that we are pulling in the same direction.